That's such a wife response, isn't it?
It is indeed.
I
It
guess
is indeed.
they're on Earth to make sure that our egos stay in control. And I don't think it's ever worked, but that's their mission anyway.
She has a very long needle and she pokes it into mine all the time.
How long have you been married, Sam?
Well, we've been married 21 years, and this time around we're both repeat offenders.
Yeah.
So it's we had a high recidivism rate here.
Well, I never got married too many times. I couldn't afford it.
Not too many. No, just twice.
I couldn't afford it for one thing. Willie Nelson always said he was married 5 times, maybe 6, and he said not long ago. Well, I guess it's been a while ago now. He said a while ago that the next time I think about getting married, when I meet some old girl, I'll just go ahead and buy her a house, and that'll be the end of it. I'll just
that way I won't have to worry about it.
That's right.
Because he's bought 5 of them so far.
Yeah, there you go. Actually, he said I'll meet some girl that I really don't like and buy her a house. Willie's 88 now. It's amazing the time that goes by. We just had a healthy living segment on our program here. It's I think it comes from Brownfield Ag Network. And there's little tips on how to live a life in rural Iowa. And the lady was interviewing someone from the Cattlemen's Association here in Iowa. And the man was saying, I know beef is high. It's way high. But believe me, it's not going down. The money's not going in the pockets of farmers who try to raise cattle. It's going to the big processors. And the reason, and I want everybody to listen to this because it's the truth, and I should have mentioned it before. The reason the price of beef has gone up so fast and so hard is that Joe Biden has made it tougher to use traditional diesel fuel. Whenever fuel costs go up, the price of products must go up because the food products travel an average of 800 miles to get to its warehouse or shipping destination. So when fuel prices go up, as Joe Biden forced the issue, price of gas here in town has gone up $1 in the last year. Not even the last year, last 6 months. That's what you get, higher prices. But I guess our commitment to climate change and to making sure Nancy Pelosi gets all that Northern California billionaire climate change money is intact. The rest of us, of course, suffer for these noble leftist radical policies. So there we go.
Well, but you have to look at the fuel prices as a form of taxation. It is it's like inflation on any other, and take a look at what inflation does. Inflation is a tax because if we do not control the money supply, if we do not go out and keep our foot on the throttle appropriately for the economy, and if we let energy prices go up, because that impacts and rolls through everything, I would call them first order consumables is what I call it. And that's where, we're talking about our food and gasoline and first order consumables. And those are the things that go out. And you know what? Those are not considered in the consumer price index. They're not considered in that. And so when you look at the consumer price index, you're not looking at the impact that the food prices and fuel prices have on the economy, and because it is a form of taxation. Think about the fact that now that oil is up to $75 a barrel. Under the Trump administration, it was $35 a barrel. And the reason was because OPEC and the rest of them had to compete against, and Russia had to compete with the United States because the United States became a net positive producer of petroleum products, of fossil fuels. And when you take a look at our coal, gas, and oil supplies and the ability to get the coal or get our oil and natural gas supplies from Canada and Mexico as well, think about the impact that North America has on the ability now to be the principal controller of oil and fossil fuel prices, I should say, and take that away from OPEC and Russia. And so that to me is one of the great accomplishments of the Trump administration. And look at where we are now. $5 a gallon for gasoline in California.
Yeah. More than that in California. It's obscene in California. Yeah. It's over $3 here in town. And again, that is the direct result of Joe Biden's policies.
Absolutely. And think about it. For every gallon of gas, you are paying a $1 tax now over what you were paying a year ago. And that's the way I look at it. And I look at inflation and what happens in food and fuel prices as a form of taxation. And that is, to me, and worse, it's regressive because it affects the poor much harder than it affects the people who are wealthy.
Of course it does. Of course it does. We're not a high-wage state anyway. And these policies hurt the lower 25% of the income structure.
Right.
You can work 2 jobs or 3, and Biden's still going to kill you. You know, the Democratic Party, I've been furious at them, and I left the party years ago because they have done nothing but attack working class people ever since, and they're on board with the people they would tell us that they're opposed to, and that's Wall Street financiers. That's the reason Joe Biden's in the White House, because Wall Street didn't want Bernie or Liz, period. That's why they're there. They didn't want to leave it up to the Democratic Party voters who would have voted for Elizabeth or Bernie Sanders. So they forced through Joe Biden. This is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I want to switch gears here just a little bit. Nicole Hannah-Jones, now everybody's probably heard that name already. Nicole Hannah-Jones is the author of the 1619 Project, which instructs us that the United States has been racist since 1619, when the first slaves were brought to the Northern Hemisphere. Now, she has further instructed us we must be careful with our language. See, these people are thugs, really. They're totalitarian thugs. We must be careful with their language. She says it isn't violent. Are you following me here, Sam? Because this made me, I was stunned. It isn't violent to destroy property. It's only violent when an agent of the state, like a Minneapolis police officer, a white officer, kneels on the neck of a black man until he dies. That's it. So if your house is set on fire or your car is destroyed, that isn't really violence. Don't you understand, dumb white people? That's a true intellectual statement from the radical left.
But how is that? I mean, how does that how does that pass any logical test? I mean,
thank you very much. It doesn't. And if you analyze, and this is what's so sad, this is why I wanted to start with social platforms today, because they're putting out a poisonous and false narrative. This is what Nicole Hannah-Jones and her people want to shove down our throat. If you think there's going to be a major political leader in the Democratic Party, up to including the President of the United States, that will dispute publicly this false statement, you're wrong. They will accept it. If pushed, they will accept it as true. Now, that's truly Orwellian, ladies and gentlemen, when the truth becomes a lie and a lie becomes a truth. And this is the 1619 Project that the radical left is fainting because we don't teach it in schools in Iowa.
But the radical left in the 1619 Project doesn't. There's no. It is a lot like critical race theory. There is no intellectual basis for it, and it's based on falsehoods. It's based on a deliberate distortion of history, and it's based on anecdotal evidence as opposed to being empirical or statistically proven one way or the other. The whole issue of the 1619 project, if you put it into perspective, the perspective is that it's bunk. It's total bunk. And yet it's being pushed, and it's pushed. And I get your point about the fact that it's being pushed, and being forced down people's throats, and because it's woke to accept these things. But to me, it's not woke. And, as my buddy down in Kentucky says, he talks about wokeutopia. He says, there is no wokeutopia. It is Orwellian because you are stating a lie as a fact, and you can't continue to perpetuate a lie and expect it to be a fact unless you go to Joseph Goebbels, and Joseph Goebbels says if the lie is big enough and you say it often enough, then it becomes the truth. And then that's exactly the methods of the left, because all of this there is no intellectual, philosophical, or foundational notion to support any of these baloney theories that are coming out of the left. None. Zero. And I defy anyone to show me the empirical evidence that supports or proves any of these false narratives that we see perpetuated in media or on social media. I'm sorry, I get a little emotional about that.
Will you quit apologizing? Jesus.
Yeah.
This is why the culture wars, from our standpoint, must continue, and we must ramp up the fierce opposition. We must go to big business and say, what the hell are you doing supporting a bunch of flaky groups who hope to eventually destroy your business? Because that's what they want to do. I mean,
and they will. The fact is, it's like the thing about keep throwing meat to the alligator, hoping that he eats you last. That's what it's really about. And I think that's where we see a lot of these organizations that cave to the extortion that comes from these. And the other part of it is that they want to be cool. They want to be that they want to be cool. They want to hang out with the cool kids.
That's what it is.
And you see this, and suddenly it dawns on you that these people I don't think, and I think this is what we're talking about. Is we're talking about a very loud and outspoken, very small group of people who wish to be the ruling aristocracy of this nation.
Yeah.
It is no different than the vanguard that Lenin talked about. It's no different than seeing the purges that Stalin went through. And you think about the three of the most evil people in the 20th century, Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, and Mao Zedong. And that is now they're celebrating the 100th anniversary of the Communist Party of China.
Yes.
Then you think about, we don't know how many millions of people these people killed of their own countrymen. We don't know, and it's hard to get your head around that Mao may have killed 100 million Chinese in order to, and particularly in the 60s when we had the Cultural Revolution and a massive purge. We have no idea because China was as closed today or then as it is now as it was 200 years ago when we sailed into the harbors of China and tried to make inroads there. This is they're to think that, and this is what these people want. They want this socialist, totalitarian government to impose the socialist economic agenda on us. They have to, because we have to be subjects. We have to be serfs. We have to be feudal entities, because that is the only way that they can rule.
Well, that's
because they have to be totalitarian in their method, and that is as Orwellian as anything there is.
Well, we're kind of wearing out that Orwellian too. We need to bring, because the left is not bringing in any intellectual heft to the conversation at all. They're holding up slavery and saying this is what you did, and the conversation's supposed to be over. Oh well, if you
did you do that? Did you do that?
Hell no.
Hell no. No,
hell no, I wouldn't do it. No. I believe in fact in objective truth, and I don't. Ladies and gentlemen, have I disguised my positions over the years? I don't believe I have. Have I made any secret of the fact of where I stand and why? No, I don't think so. No, hi there. I'm a conservative. Perhaps you didn't know that. Yes, I'm a conservative traditionalist, and I come from a class of Irish Catholics that believe that the Democratic Party, the church, and Democratic Party and the church and the union was all there was. Well, the Democratic Party killed the unions under Bill Clinton, killed private sector unions, and they became an outlet for a bunch of enraged convenience store workers to go out in the streets and burn cars. And that's and the church they've shoved aside. You cannot, and I've said this more than once, you cannot be a Catholic. You cannot uphold the truths of the Catholic Church and be a member of the Democratic Party. It's impossible. You can't do it.
Impossible. Cannot do it. They are opposites of each other. It is totally incompatible.
Yeah, it is for sure. Totally incompatible. Yeah. Sam Clovis is our guest, and Sam, of course, worked for Donald Trump. He was a candidate for Senate. He was a talk radio host, a former fighter pilot in the Air Force, on and on and on. Most liberals took a humanities class at Iowa Central and then dropped out, but they're in the street anyway. For the reasons that Sam just mentioned. They want to be part of the cool kids thing. You know, it was a terrible thing that happened up in Kenosha, Wisconsin, but look at the two young men that were killed. And I am certainly, and let me be clear on this, certainly not saying that the actions of the shooter, a 17-year-old kid who was brought to Kenosha by his mother. There's a Mother of the Year award if I've ever seen it. Yeah. I'm certainly not justifying his actions whatsoever. But one of the people he shot, and I can say murdered, but one of the people he shot was a 36-year-old fast food worker. The other was a 26-year-old young man who lived some distance from Kenosha, but showed up in Kenosha just to have a little fun. He was a skateboarder. As a matter of fact, unfortunately, his dying act was hitting the shooter overhead with a skateboard. This guy's 26 years old, and he had a little bit of a criminal record. This is who is going to guide us into the utopian future. These people, that's who's going to do it. And that's who's in the streets right now, by the way. And again, I'm sickened by killings like this. I am. Yeah. The young man was not within his rights as far as I'm concerned. And his mother should go to prison with him. That's my feeling. But anyway, Sam, is there anything you'd like to say in closing?
No, just God bless everybody and God bless this country. It's just in the 4th of July weekend, I haven't had a chance to express my feelings and gratitude to the American people for the honor to have served them the way I have, and I hope to continue to serve and to do that in a righteous way.
Sam Clovis will be on Monday at 3:00, and we will have Sam Monday as usual. We missed him last Monday because, of course, it was the 4th of July holiday. But thank you, Sam. We'll talk with you then on Monday.
Talk to you again, Mike.
All right. This is AM4.